Hey everybody, welcome to April webinar. This is a favorite topic of mine and Chris's, the importance of sales in clinical research. And yes, we have done podcasts on this. We have done videos on this. We've never done a formal webinar where people can chat. So by the way, if you are listening in the webinar itself, you can chat. If you're on your computer. If you're called in, you can't do anything other than listen. But you will get the slides. Everyone who registered will get the slides emailed to you. Furthermore, a replay of this video will go on YouTube with the slides. If you're on Instagram Live, just go to YouTube. If you're listening on the podcast, go to YouTube. This is an important topic. The importance of sales. Everything you do in research, no matter who you are, is sales. We just kind of helped facilitate a sales right now. As a CRO, we tried to convince an oncologist why they should do a study that they're not going to get paid very much on.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And while we did very little selling ourselves, we kind of are in that process. And we facilitated it by having the medical monitor on.
Them together.
We put the parties together. So sometimes sales is not you actually convincing anyone to do anything. It's putting the pieces together.
Sure.
And putting the team members together to make this happen. But obviously, if you're a business owner, like a site owner, you own a CRO, you're an independent contractor, whether you're a CRA, a consultant, anything, you're in sales. You're in the business of sales.
Employees even in sales, right?
Even employees.
You want a raise? You got to sell yourself and get that raise.
You want a promotion? Sell yourself.
Yep.
You want to be given less work, or you want to be given an extra week off?
Yep.
Guess what? I hate to break it to you, but we're all salespeople. If we want to be successful at what we do, you've got to understand and get very comfortable with this idea. So how's it going, Chris Auber?
No, it's going.
Welcome.
Thank you, Dan.
You love sales.
I don't know if I love sales. I just know it's necessary.
So let's go through the slides and see why it's necessary. Amy, again, did a fantastic job.
But you viewed these prior, right?
I have not viewed these at all.
So you're making an assumption.
Yes.
Okay.
So why salesmanship is important. So in research, in this industry, how many industries have you been in? I've only been in research. I've been in real estate also. And in real estate, people, they're not under the impression or under the illusion that they're not salespeople. Like, no matter who you are in real estate, you're comfortable with the idea that it's a sales industry.
Mm-hmm.
In research, it's easy to forget that. But it's deceptive because it is.
Oh, absolutely.
So what industries have you been in?
Well,
prior to research?
I've been in medical previously. I've also been in sales previously. And then when I was a youngster, first couple of jobs were fast food.
So sales there too?
Fast food? I mean,
Less.
They want you to, but you're 15, 16, 17. You're not selling too much.
Yeah.
Just pay me my paycheck when I go home.
Even like servers at restaurants are sales. They get bigger tips if you order more. So the good ones always offer you dessert, always offer you.
Sure. And there's promotions too from the restaurant. Hey, if you push this product, there'll be an incentive for the server.
Mm-hmm. Well, in clinical research, people tend to not think of themselves as salespeople. I've noticed this even from site owners. I've noticed this. And especially from doctors. Mm-hmm. Doctors hate to associate themselves with being salespeople because they think, well, I've gone to school. I'm more of a scientist. I shouldn't be selling. But guess what? You are. If you want to be a PI, if you want to be a sub-I, if you want to own a site, even if you don't do research, just owning a private practice.
Well, even
you're in the business of sales.
Even in R&D, from the science standpoint, they're in sales, right?
How so? White papers and stuff like that?
Yeah, or even just promoting an idea you have, right? Mm-hmm. Sales. You got to sell it to whoever your superiors are.
So from getting the study, this for the research sites, but for everyone else too, to populating the study with patients, right? Mm-hmm. As a research site owner, you have 3 stakeholders you need to keep happy, which means sell to. Mm-hmm. Sponsors, patients, and doctors. Those are the three you got to keep happy.
Absolutely.
And those are the three you constantly have to sell to day in and day out. Right?
I would think so, yeah.
That's for the sites. As an employee in the industry, let's say you're a study coordinator, W-2, or a CRA, W-2.
Four then. Same three is listed prior, as well as your employer.
As a coordinator, yeah. You got to keep the patients happy.
Yep.
That's how you get the retention from your patients.
Yep.
That's how you get them to screen. That's how you get the doctors to be compliant with the protocol, even though everyone knows FDA mandates PI oversight. But in reality, when rubber meets the road, it's the coordinator who has to convince, right? Look at some of our sites.
Or not necessarily convince.
You got to convince the PI to come do a SIV when they don't want to.
Or keep happy, or...
Because there's opportunity cost for that PI to be somewhere else where they're going to make more money for that 1 hour.
Sure.
Like OBGYN gets $5,000 per delivery. They can do 3 deliveries in an hour. Why would they come to an SIV for an hour? That's $15,000 to them. So now you as the coordinator or the site director have to sell them on why.
Sure.
It could be fear. Hey, the FDA wants to see that you're involved.
Well, yeah.
Or it could be selling them on the long term. Yes, your deliveries are never going anywhere. You're going to keep doing that, but research may go away if you don't take it seriously.
Yep.
And now you have multiple streams of income, right? That's sales, convincing them of that. As a CRA, you're in sales, right? Even if you're a W-2 employee, when database locks come around and your coordinators need to answer these queries within a week, and your project manager's breathing down your neck, guess what? You've got to sell the idea to the coordinator that they better be compliant or else.
Probably as a CRE, you're least involved in sales, but yeah, there'll be times when you might need help.
Convince the coordinator.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in a SSV, site selection visit, where the CRA is trying to convince you to do the study?
Oh, absolutely.
That's sales.
Absolutely. Sure.
That's sales.
Sure.
It could be because the sponsor wants that site, or it could be because the CRA doesn't want to do any more SSVs.
Or it could be a third issue there. That's just the fact that this is a tough sell of a study. They're having difficulty getting sites, so the sponsor is like, hey, just get anybody you can at this point, right?
Or it could be a CRA that lives in Houston that gets paid the same whether their site visit is in Houston or in LA.
Sure.
And they really want this Houston site.
Yeah.
That's sales too.
Yeah.
Now there's sales with your upstream, with your lead CRA, with your project manager. Hey, I've been working in CNS my entire career. I'd like to do some oncology.
Sure.
Or I'd like to do more remote monitoring from home as opposed to coming into the office. Or a number of things.
I did not say there wasn't sales involved. I just said of the entities involved, probably the least.
The least. But really there is no least when the rewards are, when the alternative is a better lifestyle for you, more money for you, better career opportunities for you.
As an employee, you still have to sell yourself.
Okay, so salesmanship is overlooked because it pertains to science and the stereotype of sales is not there. It's an important skill to have if you're interested in moving up the ladder. Or you're a site that wants to expand to other sites. Or you're a coordinator that wants to be a CRA. Or you're a job candidate in an interview. It's all sales. Guess what? Whether you think so or not, it's all sales. Anyone have questions? Let me know. Confidence is key. Most people lack confidence, right? We did a whole podcast on this.
We did?
Yeah, that's where Amy got the material for the slides.
Oh, on sales, yes.
Yeah, confidence is key. Most people lack confidence. Why do you think that is?
Well, if you're selling to somebody and you lack confidence in whatever it is you're trying to promote, it's not going to show well, right? If you're promoting yourself, but you lack confidence in what you're saying, what you're saying isn't going to be taken seriously.
That's right. Now, one of the reasons why the CRA Academy has been successful is we help people get that confidence.
Absolutely.
Because before they do the course, they want to do research. They don't know anything about it. And because of that, their confidence is really low. Or maybe they know just like a few things from some YouTube videos they've watched or some books they've read, but they don't have enough confidence to do well in a job interview. So the goal, if you can just summarize the CRA Academy like in a few words or a few sentences, it's get you that confidence that you need to do well in the job interview, and also put some experience on your CV when you do the internship and all that. But all that is designed to get you confidence and get you up to speed when it comes to presenting yourself at the job interview.
Now, you're an exception to this, but for most people, I think, having knowledge enables confidence, right? So if you were to get up on stage and start discussing something you have no clue about, right, in front of 1,000 people,
that's right,
you're going to look a fool, right?
That's right.
Because you have no confidence in what you're presenting, right? But if you have knowledge of the topic, you'll be much more confident in yourself and what you're presenting, right?
And the CRA Academy, the Site Owner Academy, that all is an example of how to get knowledge to build your confidence.
That's right.
That's why those academies are successful. The CRA Academy has been going on for 2 years now. We've had solid, consistent enrollment, good results from the candidates, especially the ones who come out for the internship to California. They've had more confidence than the others, and they do well. They do better in the job interviews.
Agree with that. Yes.
Now in the Site Owner Academy, it's new. It's only been going on for like 4 months, maybe 5 months. But we're giving people that confidence also. Not only that, they're networking with other people, seeing where other people are lacking, where they need to build their skills up, and their confidence is increasing because of that. So you're absolutely right. Knowledge is the key to having confidence. If you're a site owner at a site selection visit and you've never had an SSV before, you have a very good chance of losing that study. Why? Because you have no confidence.
Yeah, and you have no knowledge of the situation. What is going to be presented to me?
Right. The whole time you're sitting there in fear because you're hoping they don't ask you certain things. And so even the questions you do know the answers to, you're so anxious and unconfident that you give that vibe off that you don't really know what you're doing.
I completely agree. And this is why I just did this last Friday with one of our clients.
For our clients, right? Yeah. $1,000 a month, month to month.
We, before their site selection visits, we spend a half hour, however long it takes, going over the questions that will most likely be asked at the site selection visit, just to alleviate any concern about questions that might be posed. Some
people even have no confidence at the site initiation visit.
Yeah, which is odd, but yes. This is
but when you don't know, like you said, knowledge is the key.
Yeah.
When you don't know, you don't know. And then you're just afraid constantly, right?
Yes.
Being a management at a CRO or at a site or at a pharma company requires some level of salesmanship to influence the people beneath you to do things your way. Right?
Sure.
Sales, as you run a site, I run a site. I use the air quotes around run. But back in the day when I actually managed a clinic, now I just own, less managing than owning. But still, it's like you got to convince employees, hey, why should you make a little less working for me as opposed to someone else? That's sales, right? Why? Well, you may have more opportunities in the future. You may be doing more things than just being put in that one compartment and asked to do data entry.
Well, it could be a whole host of things, right? You might enjoy your job here more. Just usually you're going to present whatever the truth might be, right? But you're going to elevate those truths to appeal to your audience.
Yeah. But here's the key, here's the trick, the hack, and the unlock to the entire confidence problem. Okay? No matter who you are or what your situation is, you have pros and cons to that is different or the same from others. So if you're a small site and you want to compare your hiring prospects to a large site, your cons: you may not be able to pay as much as that other site. You may not have benefits. You may not have 401k, right? But what's your pros? Your pros are you're not just going to be a coordinator. You're going to be recruiting. You're going to be helping with contracts and budgets. You're going to be helping with regulatory. You're going to even be helping with quality assurance. These are all things that you can put on your CV that are going to help you in the future because that person that got hired for the same role as you at the big site is only asked to do one thing. Maybe they're just asked to do source docs. And they don't even have an awareness of anything else. You will get paid less, but you're going to be doing all these other tasks. There's always pros and cons. And if I were the owner on the other side with a big site,
presenting it,
I would be offering up our pros, not our cons.
So presenting it that way to a potential employee, may not seem like a benefit the way you're proposing it here, but I believe what you mean to say is this opens doors up to them for future advancement, right?
Yeah.
So they can become a CRA because they're familiar with all the other
They can become
aspects.
a CRA faster.
Right. They're familiar with regulatory and everything else involved in research, which they could then sell to whoever they interview with as a potential CRA.
Yeah. And if I were the site director at a large clinic and I were in charge of hiring, my sales pitch would be totally different. Sure. I wouldn't focus on, hey, you're just going to be asked to do source docs, and this is not really going to be good for your career. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about the salary.
Sure.
You know, the bonuses, the benefits, everything I can. And it's my job to do that.
Right.
In that situation.
Sure.
Right. So confidence, it's you, no matter what your situation is, you have something that is a plus compared to someone else. Even for our CRO, we're a tiny CRO, but guess what? We're not Quintiles or IQVIA. And if you work for us, you're going to be doing everything across the board, not just monitoring. You're going to be helping with protocol review, protocol design. You could be helping with budgets. You could be doing QA. You could be doing a number of things, right?
I was thinking about something you said.
You're smirking.
Well, I was running through something Jordan Peterson said.
You love this guy.
I'm not going off on a great tangent, but
he's a very interesting person.
And basically he said 10% of the world's population can do nothing, right?
Right.
And I was trying to think, well, how could they promote themselves that they can do this, in which they can do something in which somebody else cannot do, right?
Yeah.
And even they probably could, right? Well, I got nothing else going on in my life.
You always have something.
20 hours a day to you.
Time.
Sure.
What they have is time and effort.
Sure.
Right? And the story that if they are successful, then you have now that branding opportunity with this person.
Right.
That opens up other stuff too. We're barely on slide 4. So how to achieve good salesmanship. This is your quote. To be good at sales, you have to be a chameleon. Can you explain this? She got this from you.
From the podcast?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have to be a chameleon. What do you mean, Chris?
So
that's rather odd.
A chameleon, right, in their environment, they change their colors according to whatever environment they're in to avoid predators, right? So in that sense, as a salesperson, you have to be aware of your audience, and not all sales techniques are going to work for all the same people, right? You have to change your sales technique according to your audience.
You have to be sophisticated.
Yeah.
You can't use a hammer when a screwdriver is better.
Exactly.
Right?
I mean, you have to make alterations to your sales technique depending on your audience.
I see. You can't go off-roading with a lowrider.
No, that wouldn't be probably a good idea.
But in sales, some people try. They have one tactic, and they just shotgun approach it, right? And see what sticks. Okay, always lead with your strengths. Some of the things are common sense. Be friendly, be likable. But that's actually, let's say you're not a friendly person. How do you do this?
I don't talk a whole lot.
Or be likable.
Well, if it's impossible for you, don't open your mouth too much.
But if you have to,
you're gonna rock at a hard place.
You're gonna have to work on it.
It's really difficult. I mean, Amy's right here. It's really difficult to be a successful salesperson at anything if you're not likable. I mean, there's instances where that's probably not true. Sciences, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're in R&D, you could probably get away with not being too likable, right? And still getting your whatever you're trying to promote, successfully getting that across, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not being likable, because you're just speaking in black and white, right? But when you're trying to promote, getting back to your hiring an employee example, right? If you're stating these facts and you're not likable, well, just not being likable is enough that you're not going to, this person's probably not going to work for you, right? Come to work for you.
Right.
Because you're not likable. People don't want to work for people that are unlikable.
So I would go the opposite way. I would, if I were unfriendly or unlikable, I would maybe hire someone who could teach me how to do that. There's coaches who can teach you. And they can take you from like unfriendly to average.
Yeah. So take a couple people that you've mentioned a number of times in your life that are very unlikable.
But they see the difference is they don't know that they're not likable.
Yeah.
They think that they are. So the real key is to know who you are first. That's how you can be a chameleon. You got to know who you are and then what your audience wants to hear. For example, if you're speaking to someone who is very technical, you have to approach them from that perspective.
Absolutely.
All right. Learn to approach people in person, over the phone, and through email with a strong and concise email script. This is important for job seekers, for sites looking to get study. Reach out and remember to follow up. And always, always, always lead with your strengths. Always. So if you're not friendly, you probably have other strengths. You want to lead with those.
Well, you probably would. Hopefully, you're one of those science-based individuals, and you present facts well.
Mm-hmm. So salesmanship at the site level, finding a PI. And we've done entire webinars on finding a PI. Many site owners have a hard time approaching PIs or physicians when starting their site. To overcome your fear or lack of confidence, just get out there and do it. There's so many people on Instagram that I've talked to, on Snapchat, through email, that want to start a site, and we tell them, you and I both tell them, you need to go find a PI. And they'd rather talk about doing it than just going out and doing it.
Well, it's difficult. A lot of people are not built, or at least they don't think they are, to perform sales, right?
Right.
And it's an uncomfortable, for even the best salesperson, it's like the first time doing anything new is uncomfortable, right?
So just get out there and do it.
Yeah, it becomes more comfortable.
After a while, you're not going to get the first PI you knock on their door unless you get super lucky, but the 15th,
sure,
you might be a lot more confident by then.
And the first 5 might be uncomfortable, but I tell you what, after you've done 5 or 6 or 10, it's no big deal anymore.
It's all the same.
Yep.
Talk to doctors, and if it doesn't work out, ask them to refer you to their colleagues. Play the numbers game. It's all a numbers game. Salesmanship at the site level, lowering startup cost. This is all you. You need to lower your startup cost. In addition to finding a PI, you can convince them to do research with you in their office space in exchange for a higher percentage of payment. Mm-hmm. There's all kinds of things you can do here. You can negotiate using their equipment and their staff, but they're not just going to offer this to you. You have to tell them and convince them why it's important for them to do that. Okay. Any issues with PIs being relatives? No. Never been an issue at all.
Yeah, we have husband and wife PI and site owner.
No issues with that. Finding studies. So approach CROs or sponsors for studies, or work with someone like us, like the SCS, that can do it for you. By the way, just because you use us for our services does not mean you can skip sales, all right? We're making it easier for you to sell. There's still going to be a whole lot of work on your end. The site selection visit's one of them. Yeah. Perfect example.
We're most likely not going to be there.
We can
give you guidance.
We can give you guidance over the phone. You do it all the time. Spend hours on the phone with clients prior to their first SSV. I've been doing some of those now. For every 100 email pitches you send out in regards to getting a study, you may only hear back from 10. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean 10 are giving you the study. 3 may want more information. 5 may say, hey, we're going to keep your information for future studies, which, by the way, is a signal that you need to follow up every 3 months. And then 2 might send you a CDA. Right? And I don't know if that adds up to 10, but it's besides the point.
Sure. You're not going to always be successful is the point here.
So negotiating budgets, this is you. We have a new book we bought from someone from the sponsor level I'm going to try to get her on podcast soon. But the sponsors will always come at you with things like the Sunshine Act, fair market value. There's elements of truth to all of this, but here's what they're doing. They are selling you, convincing you on the fact that these are government regulations and there's nothing you can do about it, right? They're selling.
Selling or lying?
They're not lying because there's truth to this. Fair market value, something Sunshine the DOJ Act, frowns upon.
The Sunshine Act isn't. Yes, I've seen this a number of times. Yeah. That's more lying, in my opinion, than selling. Yes, it's selling because you're trying to convince them to take this amount, right? But the Sunshine Act doesn't really regulate how much can be paid in a study, right?
No,
Sunshine
but
we're just going to show the world what you've been paid.
Yes.
Right.
But what
you're paid.
But who does regulate that is the DOJ. And if we get someone like Darshan on, he'll argue that sponsors should be saying that and should be talking about fair market value, because you can get in trouble as a sponsor for paying a key opinion leader under the guise of doing research for really not doing anything. So that's why fair market value comes into play.
I would
now, for 90% of sites, they don't fall into that.
Right.
But they're still using this against you because they're doing their job. They've been trained on this.
I'm not saying they're not doing their job.
Yeah.
I would say that falls, again, more under a lie than sales. But it's both.
It's
in
both.
my opinion.
Yeah. Someone here. When I try to sell, I get nervous. I start rambling. When I approach a potential PI, how can I avoid this? Well,
practice makes perfect.
Yeah, practice makes perfect. Know your stuff. Like going back to what Chris said, knowledge is key to confidence. Know your stuff. Know all the objections. The more you practice, the more physicians you talk to, the more you're going to start noticing their objections. 2 years ago, I did a video with Chris where we called a physician live, one who responded to a Craigslist ad about a PI position, and we got his objections on the video.
I don't recall this, yeah?
Yeah, we did it. We got the objections on the video. Remember, we even called our attorney, Rick, and he said he shouldn't record.
Oh, yes. I recall it now.
This was like 2 years ago.
I recall the Rick call.
So guess what? That guy's objections were not brand new things that came out of nowhere. I've heard those objections over and over and over again. You're going to get different variations of it.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, it's 10 things that they really talk about, right? So you just got to do more of it and be prepared for their objections. You're already going to know what their objections are if you practice. So talk to more physicians. Every day or every week, try to talk to a new physician or a nurse practitioner that you're trying to recruit to be a sub-I or to get interested in doing research. Monica's doing this right now as we speak.
That's true.
I wish I could have been there, but I'd rather be doing this with you guys and with Chris.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you know your stuff, getting back to this question, if you know your stuff, you're very knowledgeable on all aspects of being a PI, most likely then it just boils down to self-confidence, right? Maybe you have a little bit of lack of self-confidence, and this is why you mumble or stutter. I think just repeatedly doing it, maybe it takes you a few more times. Maybe it's not 5 or 6 times. Maybe it's 20 times.
Yeah.
You just have to develop confidence within yourself.
Practice. I used to be horrified prior to YouTube, horrified of public speaking, like terrified. It's the last thing I went in high school. I tried to avoid doing that. Like I would skip out during days where you have to present. I hated it, right? I had confidence, but for some reason I just public speaking, maybe the subject matter didn't interest me, or I was too afraid of what other people thought. Once I started doing these videos, like now I go up, like at Scope, right? There was like 100 people. I go on panel. Like I don't have very many issues. I still get like a little nervous before, but then once I get going, I'm good. But that comes from practice. It's not like I was born that way.
I will add one
You can argue I was born an introvert and became an extrovert.
Sure. And I'll add one more thing to that question, which thank you for that monologue there. You know what works for me is with the PI thing. If you're going in and talking to PIs, what works for me in that situation is just telling myself, you know what, even if I make a fool of myself, I'm never seeing this person again. Who cares?
Worst
honestly,
case scenario.
that works for me, right? It makes me relax because I'm never seeing this person again. If I can be a complete idiot, who cares? Well, who cares what they think of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if it works, you get the PI. Well, of course, you're going to see them again. But guess what? It worked, even if you made a complete fool of yourself.
Yeah, you're never going to see this person again.
There is real no negative to going out and doing it.
Right.
You're either going to get what you came there for, or you're just never seeing this person again, which doesn't affect you.
Right.
So go in with the mindset that doing this isn't really going to affect me outside of being positive.
Yes, this person said, thank you. Good luck to Monica. Thanks for the advice. Looks like a learning process. And LOL, that's a good point.
Yeah.
It's a good job, Chris. Negotiating budgets. If you're a new site, you leverage, always lead with your strengths. If you're an experienced site, you probably know what you're doing. You probably know your value. You probably know the higher ends of fair market value. If you're a newer site, you don't. But you can, through practice, get better. Or through hiring someone like us, get better quickly. But still lead with your strengths. You don't have a lot of experience doing research, but you have a lot of patience. Right? Like, think about your strengths as opposed to your weaknesses. If you're a seasoned site, you can leverage your good track record and the quality of your data. You have actual metrics in those cases. So site selection visits, this is where people are always afraid. SSVs, right? Always lead with your strengths. If you're weak in one area, don't emphasize that. Emphasize what you're strong in. If they ask you about it, kind of have to be like a politician when they get asked a tough question. Kind of skirt the question and talk about your good stuff. You can get away with that for a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean,
they may still come back to it.
They have templates they have to fill out. They have to get the answer.
Right.
Again, but you're right. You're going to demonstrate your strengths, not your weaknesses.
Yeah.
You'll just say, yes or no. Maybe give a little explanation to your weaknesses.
It's always better to say, I'll get back to you on that, because I want to make sure I give you the right answer, as opposed to, or I don't know.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. Or
I have to check with our SOPs.
Or another common occurrence is they'll ask, hey, does your site have this piece of equipment? Are you familiar with its operation? And you don't, or have you ever used it?
Yeah, and they ask you all these technical things.
Yeah, but the best answer here is, well, we have another staff member who does have this capability, and we will have this piece of equipment in place as soon as the site initiation visit rolls around if our site's selected. So there's always a way to sell your way out of it.
Chris got good at that.
Yeah, there's always a way.
That's right. So, enrolling patients. Again, you're talking to patients, who think of clinical research as something for guinea pigs. You're already at a huge disadvantage when it comes to convincing them to do a study.
Mm-hmm.
It could be harder. This could be harder than getting studies, than finding doctors. This could be the hardest part, which is why a good way to avoid this is to partner with a physician who has a lot of patients, because they're much more likely to listen to them than to you. But regardless of that, at some point you got to get good at patient recruitment. So what are some of the things you do to make it easier to recruit patients?
Some of the things I do to recruit patients?
Yeah, that make it easier.
Well, we're in a different situation than what we recommend to with most of our sites, right?
We're in a non-diversified, like one or two niche for the sites that we own.
Not only that, but the majority of the sites that we own are strictly research, right?
Right.
So
you have to be good at sales and patient recruitment.
Yes. So you have to develop relationships with other physicians who have the patient population that you're doing a study for.
Mm-hmm.
That's one dynamic. Another is you need to be able to advertise well, right? What's another item? I think it basically boils down to those two things. If you're strictly a research site,
lunch and learn, get good with the patient advocacy groups in your community. Get good with the residential care facilities in your community if your patients live there.
Yeah, that's developing relationships. That's under physicians, kind of what I meant. But lunch and learns, that's again with physicians. It's just you have to have relationships with physicians in your community. How you go about getting those, lunch and learns, and the other ways Dan mentioned.
And also then getting good at online strategies too, like Facebook.
Yeah, advertising.
You can watch hours of YouTube videos on how to run a Facebook ad properly and figure it out. I just did it a month ago, and I've gotten better since last year at using Facebook to recruit patients.
Right.
Right? There's always things you can do to improve yourself. When things go wrong, so let's say your site or you as a CRA or you as an employee, you get in hot water, right? You did something wrong. With good salesmanship, you can kind of get out of the hole you dug yourself in.
Not always. Depends on the scenario.
Right. But you can always, with if you're able to persuade better, you can make it less bad.
Oh, sure. Or you could, for example, if your site's placed on a screening hold, sometimes you're not going to get out of it. Sometimes you can.
Happen to us.
Depending on the situation.
Mm-hmm. Now, this is not on the slide, and by the way, any more questions, chat them up. How to hit your sales target. So let's talk. We got 10 more minutes. So let's say you're a site, okay? What's a good way to get one study in the next 3 months for your site? Right. I'll ask you first, and then this is how to hit your sales targets. Every site should try, when you're new, you should try to get your first study within 3 months. If you're an ongoing study, you should still try to get a study every 3 months. Depending on how big you are, you may be getting a new study every month, or one every 3 months for like the small to mid-sized sites.
Right.
So what are some numbers to hit those sales targets for you? And then I'll give my answer. Well, they're probably the same.
There's a workaround, right? You can just hire us to do this for you.
Right. That is one. That's one. But you still got to follow up on your own.
Again,
we'll follow up for you, but you got to do it on your own.
We just had this email conversation today with a client.
We did?
Well, I did.
Oh, okay.
You were copied on it.
Oh, okay.
So follow up. Typically, we leave that up to our clients, right?
Mm-hmm.
We start the conversation with the sponsor or CRO and bringing in a site to or bringing a study to one of our clients, their site.
Mm-hmm.
Following up is more left to them, right?
Right.
Because they're all different studies for all different sites.
I saw that email.
We don't have enough time in the day to follow up with all of our clients.
Right? Yeah.
And we charge accordingly as well. We charge less because we don't handle this aspect. But
anyhow, I saw that email.
Yeah. So once you have contacted a sponsor about a study or a CRO about a study, it doesn't always end there. I would say 80% of the time it does, right? They'll either tell you we're not interested, right? We're not selecting any more sites at this time. Or they might say, yes, we are interested. Here's a CDA, right? So no need to follow up at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Either it's ended, right? No need to further follow up for this particular study, or they are considering our site, right? Here's a CDA. I would say follow up is due in situations where you described earlier, right? Where they kind of give you open the door, not all the way.
Mm-hmm.
So you might need to follow up there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they say something in an email back to you that we aren't looking for any additional sites at this time, but that could change in the future. Definitely got to follow up with that one.
Right.
Or you hear no response, right? You need to follow up there too. If you don't get a response, maybe, these people are busy too. They missed your email. Any number of things could have happened. So I would say 80% of the time, though, you'll have your answer. There's no need to follow up.
Right.
20% of the time, though, you do need to follow up.
And those 20% matter because it could mean an extra study every quarter or
Absolutely.
Even one extra study a year.
Yes, it could.
So as far as like numbers are concerned, I think if you're a site trying to get, let's say, a study in the next 3 months, I think you need to reach out to 100 clinicaltrials.gov leads in that period. Probably more, but 100 at minimum.
Well, this is, we have some proprietary software that lets us know when
Yep.
studies new.
Yep.
You're best to reach out to new studies, newly posted studies, because most likely they are looking for sites.
Or add-on studies.
Right.
Add-on sites. Now, the next metric, let's say the next sales target, let's say you're someone who wants to be a CRA, or you're a CRA that wants to move on to another company, maybe to a sponsor to be a CRA, because a lot of sponsors are bringing these people in-house. So let's say you have a goal for the next 3 months to do that, right? I think the numbers are about the same. I think it's more. I think you need about, from our CRA Academy, the data we've seen, the people I've interviewed, the people who have not done our academy.
Yeah, but this is entry level. There's a difference.
Yes. So let's go entry level first, and then let's go experienced. Entry level, it takes about 400 applications to get one job. You'll probably get like 10 interviews.
I think that's a bit high.
It's not. I thought it was 2. I've interviewed like 3 people who have done this. And then from our students, that's about the number it takes.
I would think it's more like 100.
Nope.
400.
400.
I think you're hearing it.
Could be 300.
Exaggerated numbers.
Try it.
Well, I don't want to try it.
I've tried it. That's how I got my CRA gig.
Yeah, when you just get a recruiter, you don't have to worry about any of that.
But the recruiter was one of the 200 or 300.
Yeah.
Yeah. Point is, whether it's 100 or 400, it's more than you think.
Well, to get
the problem with most people is, hey, I applied to 5 places and I haven't heard back.
Yeah, ridiculous. But it's often said, right? To get a job is a job in and of itself.
Yeah, full-time job.
Yeah.
Full-time job. I've also taught people, and there's been people out there, I've interviewed her, Jenny, Bench to Clinical Research. She actually taught one of our classes once, like years ago.
Okay.
She taught an MTC class. She started out as a bench researcher and is now an in-house CRA. And it took her about 400 applications. But what she did was she went on clinicaltrials.gov, which is not Indeed, it's not Career Builder, it's not Monster. And she reached out to those study directors
directly and said, hey, are you looking for anybody?
And got a job that way.
That's not a bad idea.
Right? It's not a bad idea, but you know how many people I've told to do that and how many have actually done it?
0?
I don't know if it's actually 0, but it's way fewer than who I've told.
Right.
And some of those people are still looking for jobs.
Right.
If I had no job right now and I wanted to get into research, that's all I would be doing is clinicaltrials.gov all day. Sometimes you get these people's cell phone numbers. I would show up in person. I would do everything I can. Video, CV, like anything you can. Experiment until you can figure it out and you get results.
I would definitely not limit myself to clinicaltrials.gov, but I certainly would be using that as well.
Like you said, it's a full-time job. Now, if you're an experienced coordinator or an experienced CRA looking to make a lateral movement, let's say you're fed up with your current employer, it's going to take much less than that. But you still need to put your CV out there. You still need to go out on interviews.
Yep.
You still need to convince them on why they should hire you. They're going to ask you, why do you want to leave your current place? You're going to tell them you're unhappy. They're going to think, well, are you going to be unhappy with me in a year? You got to get your story in order. You got to get your persuasion in order.
That's right. You got to sell yourself correctly.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's say you're a PI looking to start your own site. All right, you've got to convince sponsors. You've got to convince people to work for you. You've got to convince your patients to join. Like, those are sales targets also.
Yep.
Or if you're an independent contractor looking for consulting work. Or if you're a site looking to get into becoming a CRO. Right, there's numbers that you got to hit. Your first target should be 1 project.
A site to become a CRO?
There's so many sites that want to become CROs out there.
Yeah, much more difficult.
The margins are not there for anyone wanting to try, but hey, we're not going to stop you.
Much more difficult, though. I'm just letting you know.
Yep. But there are. So the sales target is 1. Well, to get that 1, you probably got to go through 10 rejections. And that's probably going to take, again, in the hundreds of leads to follow up with.
Yep.
That's exactly what happened to us.
Yep.
Hundreds.
Yep.
We got rejected a few times. We came in second place a whole bunch of times.
Yep.
And we finally got one. And guess what? That 1 snowballed into like 5.
Yep.
Or it's about to. So, and now we almost don't want more projects.
And like as you said, the margins really aren't there.
The margins aren't there, but we're doing it for other reasons. We want to work our way up into the biotech realm and get equity in a pharma or biotech company.
Yep.
Or 10. So everyone's got their different motivations and reasons for doing things. But you got to figure out what yours is, and then figure out what sales targets, what metrics you need to be looking at as far as leads, conversions, follow-up, just to get one. Like when you're new, you just want one. When you're experienced, you want one consistently.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. Anything else, Chris Auber?
No, I think that covers it quite well.
We had a very good time, everyone on Instagram. And like I said, if you registered for this, the slides, the replay links will be sent to you. If you're not, if you're listening to it on Instagram or on the podcast, YouTube will have this up in a matter of minutes. Talk to you all later. Bye-bye. And bye-bye to the webinar as well. Take care.